Welcome to Program Planning 101. In this video, we'll cover the fundamentals and principles for program planning, offer some useful tips, and suggest some resources. So let's get started. I'm sure you're asking yourself, isn't there an app for this? Don't fret. Program planning is easier than you think, and we'll share a few tips that will help you be a successful program planner. First things first, you need to figure out what are your program strengths. To do that, you need to ask yourself a few questions. What are the participants' interests? What do they like to do? What are the mandated goals, policies, or procedures for the program? What are some unique strengths that staff and volunteers contribute? What type of program spaces, resources, and equipment do you have access to? Okay, so now that you know the questions, how should you go about collecting this info? Some answers will be easier to find than others. For example, the type of space you have or your program's mandated goals, policies, and procedures. If you're not sure about any of these, don't hesitate to ask a coworker or supervisor. It's important to ask questions anytime you're unsure in order to have the best possible result. With the other questions, get creative. For example, you could post pictures on different activities and have participants vote on which ones are their favorite. You could also ask each of them to draw 3 of their favorite activities, or cut out pictures from magazines of activities they enjoy. This keeps participants engaged and having fun. You might consider reaching out to parents. You could send home a survey sheet with a list of activities. Once you've gathered your data, next comes planning out what you want and/or need to do with the program. Start planning by setting program goals that will guide you when mapping out your activities. Is the program going to be about getting more active, providing after-school homework help, or creating visual art projects? You should consider using the SMART goal system. SMART is an acronym that means the following. S is for specific, M is for measurable, A is for achievable, R is for relevant, T is for timely. Let's say, for example, an after-school program requires 30% of a daily program to include physical activity. A SMART goal could be to plan 60 minutes of a physical activity divided into 3 20-minute games led in 3 different spaces. After you complete your goals, you'll want to work out the details of the program. The what, where, when, how, and who. Let's go over each area. The what. Make sure you have a variety of activities for each day. You can start collecting a list of activities based on your participants' interests and program mandates by visiting www.onafterschool.ca. Here you'll find a large database of activities for all age groups and activity types. The where. Make sure your space is safe and large enough for your activities. If your program is run in smaller spaces, such as classrooms, consider placing your participants into smaller groups so that they can rotate activities. The when. Time is important. Your program probably has a set start and end time, but you also want to consider time in relation to each of your activities. For example, having snack time after a strenuous activity, so the participants aren't running around on full stomachs. The how. You'll need to consider how you can best use your space and figure out what you need for equipment and supplies for each activity. Some activities will require very little prep, while others may require more. The who. You'll need to figure out who's best to lead the activities. Perhaps there's a staff member that's studied visual arts or has played soccer competitively. I'm sure you can figure out the kinds of activities these staff would be great at leading. Remember to program the strengths of the leaders. If staff are enthusiastic about an activity, it will rub off on everyone in the program. Finally, once you've got your plan in place, you need to evaluate it. Make sure to evaluate your program on a regular basis. If you don't, you won't know how effective your plan is. Before you start to think that evaluating your program's going to be hard, let's make it super easy and even fun. For each of your activities, you can have your participants grade the activity by asking them at the end to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If the majority of them have their thumbs up, you'll want to add that to a list of successful activities. If your participants are older, you can try doing a small group feedback circle. This is done by passing around an object in a small group, and the person holding the object gets to answer a question. You can ask things like, what did you like best, or how could we make it more fun? You can even ask them about other activities that they'd like to try. That's it. Now you have a program plan. And don't forget to always adapt and mold as needed. Keep things fresh and relevant. Don't forget to check out the program planning section of the On After School web portal for templates, samples, and more information. What are you waiting for? Go get those creative juices flowing and create your program plans.